welcome to another weekly episode of the Beer Fridge Podcast, Real Beers, Real Breweries, Real Opinions, sponsored by This Week in Craft.beer. Sign up to the free weekly newsletter, get all the craft beer news from your favourite breweries and that all-important new beers list as well. This Week in Craft.beer. And we're powered by Patreon. Head to patreon.com/Beer Fridge Podcast. Show your support for the podcast and you can get access to exclusive content. Patreon.com/Beer Fridge Podcast. Podcast. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Beer Fridge Podcast. Real beer, real breweries, real opinions here on the Beer Fridge Podcast. As always, people there who are out there listening to the podcast on all the platforms we're available on. Some of you are not subscribed. Make sure you follow and subscribe to the podcast and make sure you get notified of all the latest episodes of the Beer Fridge Podcast and head to our social media pages as well. Just search Beer Fridge Podcast and make sure you're up to date and all the latest things going on. My name is Gavin. I've got my usual drinking partners. I've got Scott, I've got Callum, and I've got Mark. Good evening, gents.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
Tonight we are joined by Ian from Brick Brewery. How you doing, mate?
All right. Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. As I say, we're looking forward to getting stuck in. So we kind of usually start the podcast, there we go, with going around the virtual table and seeing what we're drinking. So Miguel, you've already said how awesome it is, so start with what you're on it.
So I was lucky enough through Mark, beer picker and delivery guy, deliver brew extraordinaire, managed to pick me up without any kind of forewarning at all. Managed to pick me up one of these IPAs. So I'm on. It's a double dry hopped IPA. It's with El Dorado and Brew One hops. It's New England style. It's dry hopped. The hops are incredible. It's hazy. It's pillowy mouthfeel. It's tropical fruit. It's 6% and it's absolutely banging. It's just so. Started off the evening with a kind of more traditional kind of paleo style, and it's just so exciting in comparison. There's just so much more going on. It's complex. It's umbongo in a can, but no to the point where it's overpowering. It still has that kind of the New England style taste that you're looking for. The hops are there. There's a lovely finish on it as well. It keeps you coming back for more. It looks absolutely splendid in the glass as well. It's exactly everything you're looking for a New England style beer. It's incredible. Could drink more than one can safely, more than four probably, and then it would be an early night after that. But that's because it is 6%. It's absolutely superb. There's some Simcoe Cryo in there as well, Columbus as well, Laurel. It's packed. It's jammed full of juice. I think that's all you really need to know, basically.
Sounds stunning, mate. Sounds absolutely stunning. And I'm kind of gutted I couldn't get my hands on it. You
should be incredibly sad.
I'm very sad because in the glass it looks absolutely stunning.
It's tremendous. Really, really good.
Marky boy.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry. I guess what we're trying to. No, I'll let people continue.
No, go for it. Carry on.
Tell me whether I'm right or no, please.
Yeah, I guess what we're trying to do. So we used to have. We've got a core range of beers. We've got 6 beers. 4 of them are ongoing, and we've got 2 seasonal beers. We used to do an IPA that was a standard IPA. It was called Peckham IPA. Most of our beers are called in our core range are called Peckham something. It sold well. It sold okay, but it wasn't very exciting. And when we actually looked at what other people were drinking, Scott, like what you're saying, like people are excited about these hops. They're excited about new hops and the combinations of the hops. So what we decided to do, we decided to sack off the regular IPA and exchange it with really a showcase of hops going forward. So we produce a different IPA or a pale ale or a double IPA on a probably 4 to 6 week rotation now, where we're just trying to showcase the hops. And what we're trying to achieve here is like using some of the more interesting, like new hops like El Dorado and Brew One, and then show how they work really well with some of the more traditional hops like Citra and Simcoe and Laurel and things like that. But also using yeast, different types of yeast. So sometimes we'll use the London Fog, which is what we've got here for this East Coast. We also use Kveik yeasts and different variants of Kveik yeast, just to sort of really bring it all together and showcase like what IPAs and pale ales can be.
Tremendous. It ensures the freshness as well. These particular hop styles and the yeast and stuff as well. It all tastes better the fresher you can get it, and having it on that kind of rotation where you're showcasing different things is definitely where that kind of beer sits. If you're looking to do that, it's absolutely superb.
And it's exciting,
super fresh.
And it's exciting for the brewers as well. You know, they get a bit bored really churning out the same stuff all the time, and we do give a lot of latitude and a lot of the guys, the brewers, to come up with the recipes. You know, go find the hops and small batch. You know, we're contracted for a lot of hops through the main suppliers, but they're always on the hunt for unusual, some of the experimental hops that are coming out from Yakima Chiefs over in the US. They're just giving numbers right now. And part of that was the Sabro hop, which we've just launched Sabro. We're about to launch the Sabro Pale Ale next week. And we were the first UK brewery to actually use Sabro hops in a beer. This was about a year ago or more, actually. And Sabro is like coconut, it's tropical fruits, and it's just amazing. It's lovely stuff.
I was so gutted. I was the one that was speaking to Sally before he's ranging dates, and she had mentioned the Sabro beer that was getting launched next week, and I did have to cheekily ask, is there any couple of cans that we could get before? And she just was like, no, I don't think so. And I was like, it was worth the ask, because as soon as Sabro is one of those hops like that just hit the scene like last year, and then it totally hit everything, and from like you say, from pale ales to porters to stout, you name it. So no, looking forward to getting hands on.
Jeez, Sally's so tight.
Yeah.
And I'm the northerner. I'm supposed to be the tight one.
If you you're talking about the kind of Kveik use that you mentioned there. One beer that I'm drinking that's got it as well as the Lassie Sour. So I've picked this up, 3.9%. This is a lovely little number, a lovely palate cleanser, full of lemons, and it's got a lovely aroma to it. It's super complex in terms of the adjuncts and stuff. Thoroughly enjoying this. Like I said, I tried to get hands of the DDH, which I was unlucky of, but I'm not so sad now that I've got this Lassie in my hand. It's a lovely little tipple that I'm thoroughly enjoying.
Good. Yeah.
It's full of like lemon. It just whacks you in the face, but it's a nice tartness. It's not suck your eyeballs kind of sour. It's just a very nice tartness that you can deal with. It's a lovely kind of palate cleansing beer. That if you went from something like a DDH and then had this, and you can go into something else, it's a perfect in between beer. I'm loving this. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Nice.
With the sours, we try and we again similar to the IPAs and pales we just talked about. We release one every 4 to 6 weeks. And it's always a different sour. We rarely repeat the recipe other than strawberry and cucumber. And I think we've got one out now, raspberry and thyme, which we've done before. But what we try and do is we try and pair like oftentimes a fruit with a herb. It's like the raspberry and thyme, or just interesting adjuncts really that just bring a greater depth to a beer. So the Lassie sour you've got there has got natural yogurt in there. Obviously, we wanted to try and create that a Lassie, not a Bang Lassie, but a Lassie from North India. So it's got that complexity to it, and I think the Kveik yeast in there adds that additional level to it.
Definitely does. It's definitely complex. It blows your mind almost how complex it is to get your head round it. But it's a lovely little tipple. Thoroughly enjoying it. Callum,
I'm going full rye. Tonight I've got the Peckham Rye, 4.7%, and this is right up my street. Really, to be honest, it's a style of beer. I know that it's a style of beer that Scott kind of avoids like the plague. It's rye isn't really the style that he would go for, but it's a proper malty, biscuity kind of ale, which I just love. And you're getting that sort of citrus spicy note coming in. as well. It's super fresh as well. Just check you can, as soon as you taste it, you can tell how fresh it is. I looked at the bottom of the can there, and it's only been in the can just less than a fortnight, so
Right.
it's proper fresh, which is right up my street at the minute. I'm really on a mission to find sort of fresh beer, and I'm not really settling for anything less than that at the minute. But yeah, it's really nice, and you're getting quite a lot of the sort of American hop aroma coming through, which is a nice change to sort of traditional European rye style. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Lovely.
It's a funny. The rye is a funny one for us because we don't sell a lot of it. It does well, but it's I wouldn't say it's like Marmite, like you love or hate it, but we've got the people who love it, like, and can't get enough of it. Whereas it's not a beer for everyone. It's got, and I kind of get what you're saying. I've done a lot of cooking with it. I do a lot of pies with it, like slow cooked beef type stuff, which works really well. But yeah, I mean, it's a personal favourite of mine because I kind of grew up on John Smith's bitter, when it was good, and it's got that same caramelly colour. But the biscuit notes and the Chinook hops that are in there, they're just, it's lovely. I love it.
Sounds good.
Brought me back on board with the food there. Thanks very much. You can tell. Yep. Food pairings are a close second. Yeah, I might be in for that. That's good.
Well, I'm going to try and blow everything out of the water because I'm on the Cellar Pills. So the 5.2%. It's saying here traditional, dry and crisp Pilsner, and I've got this is phenomenal. Like,
The crispiest.
It's dry, mate. It is. And the first couple of mouthfuls, I thought my mate Nelson was going to make an appearance. It was that dry. It has the Chardonnay, like white wine, dry feeling that it took me to the New Zealand hop of choice for me, and it is just so Moorish. It's like it has the crispness that you would want from a Pilsner, but it brings you back in because of the dry sort of flavour that comes through. It is just so, like, I've been chapping at the bit. I've been kind of holding it in the glass away from me because you just wanted. It's one that you could sip and sip and sip and sip and sip. And while you were kind of going through, I was reading a wee bit of the old wackagen on the can here, and it says it was mature cold for 8 weeks for maximum drinkability, and I honestly couldn't agree more with that statement. It is so tasty. I'm getting the biscuit on it, and it says biscuit and vanilla wafer notes. For me, I don't get too much of the vanilla, like the sweetness that you would come to expect from vanilla, but I'm definitely getting the biscuit sort of flavour. But I'm not even complaining because I think if it was any sweeter, I think it would take away from the crisp and the dryness. That it's honestly, as soon as it touches your lips, it's gold. It's absolute gold. And like that sort of like dry flavour and is something that it is definitely like my go-to. Nelson Sauvigne's like the hop of choice, as I say my mate Nelson, and this is I've actually never heard of the hops that are in here, which if you're able to give any info on Ian would be awesome, but if not, I've got this thing scribbled here for me to go and research afterwards because it's so damn good.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, Tettnang is a tradition. It's one of the noble German hops. So you've got Hallertau Miltelfrüh, you've got Tettnang. So they're traditional sort of lager type hops. I don't know too much about Spalt, actually, to be honest.
Yeah,
I suspect it's one of the new ones on the block. As I alluded to earlier about the IPAs, we do try and use, interesting hops, experimental stuff. We brewed this twice now. First time we brewed it was pre-lockdown, and my head brewer was like, "I think we're going to be locked down. I think we need to get a lager in there that's going to age, and we're going to hold it in tank for like weeks and weeks and weeks. And I was like, right, go for it, like that. And so we brewed it the first time, and I think that was in tank for like 12 weeks in the end. And then we rebrewed this, I think it was before Christmas. Held it in tank for 8 weeks. And it's quite interesting. We do a lot of sensory stuff at the brewery where we take stuff off the tank and we all sit around at a table and we taste it. And it's remarkable how this beer at 3 weeks and 4 weeks in tank or cold store is a very different beer to what you taste now.
Oh, really?
And there's a tipping point almost. It's like when you get to 6, 7, 8 weeks, just the cold conditioning, the lagering of the beer just adds or cleans it up effectively. So it makes it that crisp sort of element that you just talked about, Mark. It's just, yeah.
I mean, people can scoff at lagers and pilsners and stuff as it being sort of inferior to your IPAs and all that kind of stuff. But if we've learned anything by talking to breweries and learning their processes and stuff, lagers and pilsners, it's such a labour of love. It really is. I mean, it's so, the process is so involved, and like you say, it's almost like aging a wine or aging a whiskey or something like that, because you don't necessarily know how it's going to age and how it's going to behave when you're conditioning it. It might be right at 4 weeks, it might be right at 9 weeks. You just need to be prepared to wait it out until it's right. And I've certainly come back round to enjoying that style. Having tried a few really cracking pilsners, it's one of my go-to beers now. Really is.
Well, you can't hide behind a pilsner or a lager.
Exactly.
You can throw hops at anything, and all you get is the juice. You get the hop. You get that full whack of tropical notes and stuff like that. There's nothing there. You can't hide. You can't hide. It takes talent and time to create a pilsner. Really,
definitely.
Lager.
Could not agree anymore. Ian, finish off. What are you drinking this evening?
Oh, I've got everything going on right now.
You're channeling your inner Scotsman, Ian. You sure there's your table with fucking 10 beers.
Yeah, no, really.
That's how we like to roll on a Tuesday.
I started out the evening with Hellers.
Okay.
Just talking about lagers, because you talk to most of my brewers and they're quite keen on lagers, and we like the hot bombs and the fruity stuff, but sometimes you just need that palate cleanser, and you need that something fresh and crisp, and so I started out with Hellers. It's our gluten-free option. Then I moved on to the Sabro. Actually, I had a Canada Sabro, and now I've just cracked the double dry hopped IPA, but I'm actually going to that next.
We've got some catching up to do.
We've got some catching up, boys.
I know.
Let's go get them down you. Like I said, we were initially introduced to Brick Brewery a couple of years back when you brewed the strawberry and cucumber. Give us a little bit of history behind Brick Brewery and how it all started. Okay.
I started in 2013. Well, the brewery started properly in 2013. I was actually a home brewer for a while. I had a corporate job for 22 years. I was a home brewer and actually started brewing in my shed down at the bottom of the garden. I'm sure this is quite a familiar story for a lot of brewers and startup breweries back then, 6-7 years ago. I think it's a different animal, different beast now. It's much more financially backed these days. So I started brewing, got a premises down in Peckham, was moonlighting. So I had my corporate job, and then in the evenings I go down and brew at the site in Peckham in the evening. At the same time I had twins.
Wow.
How I thinking back, how I ever managed to do all of those things at one time. I was made redundant from my job and walked away with a nice golden handshake after 22 years, and reinvested most of that money back into the brewery. And we've grown organically. We've over the years we've reinvested money, our own money. We haven't really taken on. We've taken on a couple of investors, a small portion, but we haven't crowdfunded significantly. And we've done it, just by sort of word of mouth and tapping into that local community. And then we moved to a bigger production facility in 2017 when we ran out of space at the Archway. Every brewery starts in an archway.
Yep.
It seems. Moved to a bigger site, and we're actually at capacity down there now as well. So it's been an interesting journey, really.
And it's that, like you said, that thing of being in the archway. The London beer scene kind of starts there, essentially, in those archways in London. I mean, for you guys, how has it been kind of keeping up with all these brews around you, with the London beer scene growing every single day? I mean, I first met you guys, I think it was at the London Craft Beer Festival a couple of years back. That's when I was introduced to your beers. I mean, how is that growth for you guys, being a part of that scene and putting your footprint on it?
Yeah, I think it's been there's always the new kids on the block that seem to make big waves.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like that's kind of the challenge, insofar as like the market share is when I first started, I'm a member of the LBA, London Brewers Alliance. When I started, there was 67 breweries, and we'd get together every 2 months, and we'd sort of share trials and tribulations and stuff. Now, when I got to an LBA meeting, there's 180 breweries. So within 7 years, there's been massive explosion of breweries. And I think, we I won't say we were the earliest. Obviously, Evan from the Colonel was one of the forefathers,
mm-hmm.
Of the UK and London scene, really. So we were a little bit behind him. And I think it's been a challenge, I mean, as I said, we've got these new kids coming up, and and no, I'm not discrediting them at all, but there seems to be this like flavor of the month, new kids, and I think we were caught a little bit in the, we weren't a Colonel, we weren't at 5 points, we were somewhere a little bit lower than that, not
mm-hmm.
lower in as in abilities, but it just, and I think growing organically as well kind of kept us as a smaller brewery perception wise. I don't know what you guys think.
It's that thing like you mentioned when you're mentioning the kind of the pilsners and the lagers that you do, you can't hide behind them. So when you taste the quality of pilsners and lagers that you're coming out with, you know the beer's quality. Whereas if you go, like you said, with the new boys who are bringing out all these weird and wonderful stuff, using adjuncts and making crazy beers with just throwing a ton of hops in it, you can hide behind it a little bit and gain a little bit of hype, whereas you guys have probably got the kind of more expertise and more kind of clinical with how you're making your beers and stuff. I've always like Scott, I think it was me and yourself, we were the kind of the first to jump on brick stuff with the strawberry and cucumber stuff. I know your other half absolutely loves it as well.
Yeah, she's a massive proponent. She was the kind of trigger to when the strawberry and cucumber stuff came up. Just buy it all, and it didn't sit for very long. I think the kind of that organic growth thing though stands you guys in good stead, because there is then you then build the consistency and the level of class that it takes to move. I mean, there's no many people are going to move into the bracket, say a Colonel or a 5 points in that kind of level, only if you do it properly. There is no shortcut to that. There's a reason they were there at the right time, but they were also, the reason they're still there is because of the consistency that they provide, and they continually make, which is the biggest kind of compliment, is that you can continually make stuff that's of a level that is premium, that puts you at the top of the pile. And I think the brick stuff, I mean, this is the first time I've properly ventured into the core range as well, so I've got the Hellas and things like that sitting there, and it's incredible. I think the Peckham side of things as well, I mean, Peckham collectively, if you think about it up here, somebody that's never been there before, my first introduction to Peckham was watching Only Fools and Horses on Del Boy on TV, but then also listening to like kind of podcasts and things like that, as everybody has done through necessity in the last 12 to 18 months. The Peckham food scene and just the kind of vibrancy of that area, it seems absolutely incredible. It's now into the kind of, I've been to London a few times, I've never been there, but it's now, I mean, you hear folk like Joe Lycett and comedians and things like that, the Off Menu podcast, and Ed Gamble and those guys talking about it, who are heavy hitters when it comes to trying new stuff when they get into London and things like that. And it's just such a vibrant scene. Yeah. And I think growing organically then in the beer side of things, and that area also growing at the same time, which has been quite fortuitous, stands you guys in incredible stead in terms of moving into that bracket where these new guys there is no shortcut. As much as they might be financially backed and try and push that, you can't get there through
authenticity.
Money. You've got to be authentic. You've got to be in there with the brick. And you guys have been, as you're named, you've got to be in there and you are part of that culture and that area and that area's vibrancy, which I think then only stands you in good stead when it comes to you asking our opinion on where you guys stand. That's it. You're there at the right time. Yeah. And building and growing alongside that, and the changes that you've made and the kind of your now at capacity in that second place, that's incredible. It just shows you that there is a getting there. There is progress, but you've got to do it properly, like you say, organically. Has got to be the way to do it, because then you're bringing the local community and stuff like that.
Yeah. We've always been felt very strongly about provenance and the local community. The can design artwork that we have on the sours. And I've just seen, Callum, you've just poured the berry sour. So the artwork is we give an artist 3 goes at design, but the artist needs to be local. They need to be, and we're quite fortunate because we're next to Goldsmiths University, which is a very artistic university. So they typically shouldn't have had a prepaid commission. We give them a chance to sort of build their portfolio, and we're trying to embrace and bring in local people, but we also do a lot of collaborations with other businesses. So we've just done the hibiscus and lychee sour, which is using hibiscus tea from Good and Proper, which is another local business. So we try and keep that provenance, keep that community going, and I think that, as you said, Scott, that's sort of a string to our bow, effectively. But it's like, what's next for us? It's like, how do we take that and get it to the broader UK market? So that's kind of the challenge for us right now.
Definitely. That's funny, because that was going to be one of the questions I asked you, was that like London is sort of a hub within itself, and you think about it within the UK, London sort of fends for itself sometimes. But my question was going to be based around, how do you get brick out with London and, into, a more national sort of based stalwart, if that's the case? Because we know we've tried your beers again through a variety of different things, if it's from a subscription box and the sour range and all the rest of it. But some people that are listening might never have tried a brick sort of brewery. So how did brick become nationally dominant?
I know. Oh, the dream.
Yeah.
if you know the answer, Mark, let me know.
Yeah, I know.
Anyone listening, let me know.
Yeah, I really wish I did. Because, like you say, well, what I've tried, I say I'm not a sour beer fan at all. So when it comes to I've got your lemon tart sitting behind me that I'm going to at least sample.
That'll be interesting. Please open that, Mark, because that'll be such good fun.
The wife's got, when it comes to the sours, I always deem them as a palate cleanser. So even in the 330s, I tend to share them between the wife and I, so that I can try them. But
do you reckon the Yuzu Imperial Sour is a palate cleanser at 10.4%?
No, see, I think that's more up my street because of the ABV. I think it's going to be. I've actually got. I do have that one too.
Have you got,
yeah. Scott might be a way to get that, because I know he's got it 100%. I'm pretty sure he's got that. The one thing that is definitely going for you, and it's something we're a massive advocate on the podcast. Canfield, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Canfield is tremendous. We're all about the Canfield here on the Beer Fridge podcast. We absolutely love it. You can't, especially the kind of core range stuff. I love how it's like all like you can like essentially feel the bricks almost.
Yeah. I do like the can art on the sour range and that. It's just, it stands out. It's nice and like you say, it's simple but really fresh. It makes you want to grab a can of it. And
when you see that, art, that it's brick.
Aye.
It's they don't all look the same, but you know exactly what it is. You see it for a mile off.
Yeah.
Aye. And so while I'm talking, I might as well continue. I've poured the berry sour. So this is a step up in terms of ABV. I'm up at 5.8%, which is quite strong. Is this a kettle sour?
Yeah,
Beer,
all the sours, majority of the sours we do are kettle sours.
Yeah. So a little bit stronger than you would maybe normally have for a beer like that. I don't know whether I'm talking shit or not there. But
no, I mean, to sort of on that, we do tend to do our sours from 3 to 4%. You know, so
the colour's fantastic.
This was a bit.
Colour's incredible. But yeah, I mean, it's not overly tart, which I quite like. I've kind of went sort of more Mark in my sour tastes. Of late, I've kind of went off them a little bit. But this is a proper refreshing drink, and it's really, you're getting tons and tons of those sort of hedgerow fruits, blackberries, blackcurrants in there, and almost a sort of biscuity aftertaste as well. So it's almost kind of like a berry crumble in the glass, and it's absolutely tremendous. And I think that the hiking ABV's kind of giving it that bit more body. It's really got quite a hefty mouthfeel to it, and it's quite a moreish, satisfying drink. A lot of sort of sours that you get, while they're refreshing and cleansing and stuff, they tend to be a little bit more sort of wishy-washy.
And die away pretty quick.
Yeah. But this one's really, it's got a decent body to it, and it's a proper, as I said, moreish drink. It's really, really nice.
Yeah. So we have in the past used quite a lot of lactose to add that body to it, but I personally said we were getting a little bit carried away with using it, and I think we could do without using it. Mm-hmm. So I challenged the brewers to sort of produce a more viscous, better mouthfeel without using lactose, and so this is one of those iterations. I know they've got the ABV, but I think the lemon tart's lactose free as well. Oh no, that's got lactose. Sorry, but yeah, that was one of the challenges really, to sort of start dropping out the amount of lactose. So the hibiscus and lychee sour, that does not have lactose.
Interesting. Sounds good, Callum. Gilroy, you've just put another in your vessel. I can see you leaning back and enjoying that. Unmute yourself and tell me what you're drinking.
Oh,
before you fall asleep.
This is incredible. I have just opened the Imperial Yuzu. So this is probably the
color. The color. I seen you pour it. The color looked amazing.
It's the heftiest sour I've ever tried. I think 10.4%. It's no messing. It's the brightest orange. It's got all the haze there. You're not seeing through that.
Nope.
And obviously uses the kind of Asian version of lemon, but it's lemon concentrated about 3 times, I think. And then this is the Imperial version of that. So it's like the lemon. It's like yuzu's. The fruit is jumping out the can when you open it. Mm-hmm. It's the fruitiest smelling. It's perfect. And usually lends itself to a beer because it's lemon, but like I say, it's lemon concentrate. So it's times 3 or 4. It's absolutely superb. It's the most alcoholic, or the best version of alcoholic lemonade I think you could get. It's that good. It's like it is a palate cleanser. You could freeze it. You could sell it as a slush, and that would be like one of those ones where you do the slush.
Omnipollo?
Yeah, aye. It's that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
You're getting from it. It has the right mouthfeel, which the ABV lends to it. It's a dessert in a can. I know there's already people that do dessert in a can, but this is it's a proper. It's something that you're going to sip it for a while. It's a really complex flavour, but it's really, really enjoyable. If you like that if you're into kind of lemon curd, things of that nature, it's not overly sweet, which is good as well. It's not overly sickly or anything like that. It's just proper natural fruit flavour, but bags of it. So if you're into that kind of flavour, this will be right up your street.
When we first launched it, I poured two cans into a pint glass. Yeah, I admit it. And Sally, my wife, was drinking some wine next to me, and I looked at her and goes, "I've pretty much just got a pint of wine."
That's what it's like. It's
Cream.
it's absolutely.
You sure you're not Scottish, Ian?
Well, my full name is Ian Donald Robertson Stewart, so
There you go.
I've got some heritage.
There it is. There it is. It's there. So obviously you guys are making these incredibly like weird and wonderful beers that are just like smashing it out of the park. Where did you come up with these ideas?
It's open to everyone. So we have a whiteboard at work, and whoever works for us, whether that be our bar staff from our tap room, or from the brewery, brewers, or sales, or whoever it is, they put up ideas on the board, and we just brainstorm stuff. So it's some of the ideas have come from like bar staff, really. Yeah, it's brilliant.
That's awesome. I would love that.
And how easy? I mean, I suppose you guys are in London, so I suppose fresh produce isn't too difficult to come by. But in terms of like, I'm drinking the berry sour, and there's blackberry, blackcurrant, sloe in there. And how do you go about sourcing all of that produce?
Yeah.
Is that a challenge, or do you find that that's on your doorstep and it's easy to find?
I mean, we do try and use local products and produce. So we did a gooseberry and elderflower sour, I think it was about a year and a half ago, when elderflowers were in season, and we actually foraged and went picking around the parks in London for that. But most fruits are, we try and keep things in season, but most fruits are available throughout the year from processors, the producers.
Yeah.
And then they send them off to a juicing factory or processing factory, so that you can get frozen stuff year round of all the berries and stuff like that. But
Marky boy, what have you just poured?
The double dry hopped IPA, mate. It is, like Miguel said, it is absolutely insane. I'm just reading here, it was 16 grams of El Dorado and Brew One per litre on the dry hop as part of the fermentation process. Like, that is just, that's just
expensive.
Aye.
expensive. True that. So how big a batch do you brew?
So our brew length is about 35 hex, so 3,500 litres.
Yeah.
We've got a mix of tanks. We've got 3,000 litre tanks. We've got 6,000 litre tanks, and we've got 9,000 litre tanks. So a yield for that particular beer, we've brewed it to 3,000 litres, but the yield is probably 3,000. The yield is probably 1,900. So we lose 30% really, just from the absorption in the hops and just the process of making the beer. So it's heart wrenching when I see this tank, and you got how much from that tank?
It's the fact that that's just the dry hop version of these hops are going to be infused as part of the boil and all the rest of it as well. But
so was that was 16 grams a litre?
16 grams per litre. Yeah.
That's fucking half a ton of hops, man.
Right. And can I just say, you get every bit of the taste coming through. I'm saying it is absolutely, like, it bashes your mouth with flavour. It really does. I've had that one and the pills. Honestly, game's been stepped up big time. Like,
you're ready to enjoy a sour now, aren't you?
Right.
Next.
I had a couple of mouthfuls of the lemon tart, so it was a nice enough palate cleanser.
So it begs the question, doesn't it? Like, where is the beer styles and trends going to go? Right. So is it going to be 32 grams a litre?
Yeah.
Is it going to be 40 grams a litre? How much can we actually take it? How hoppy can we make beers? And then does that stop becoming beer?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No,
At
it's
what
like-
point is that something totally different?
Yeah. Is it these juice bombs? I mean, with no
So
bits of this.
have you found in your time, obviously you guys have been going for a little bit now, have you found that sort of fluctuates?
Yeah.
What I've seen and heard from different brewers is that to start with, it was as bitter as you can go, try and, as far west as you can possibly go in terms of bitterness. And then you're getting that trend moving more towards the sort of juicy aspect to it. And now we're seeing the trend moving sort of back again. Would you agree with that? And is that
absolutely, absolutely.
And is that something that you tend to try and follow, or are you trying to sort of buck that and go your own way?
I think the lager. I mean, we see the cyclical movement of the hoppy versus East Coast West Coast dilemma. We're about to launch a West Coast. We've done an East Coast West Coast battle. So we did an East Coast West Coast Pale, we did an East Coast West Coast IPA, and we did an East Coast West Coast Dipper, and it was amazing to see the actual sales of each. And it the East Coast outstripped the West Coast each time. And we did this about a year ago, or even longer than that. Sorry, Mark.
People are wrong.
People are yeah. Well, that's the thing, though, isn't it? So it's almost like you're looking at the consumer. Like, who is the consumer is it the beer people that we're talking to right now and engaging in, or is it the everyday drinker? Who are we trying to attract? And I think Brick has a beer for the right time, right place, right person. Insofar as we've got a lager, we've got a standard pilsner that we've done from day one, which is quite unusual for a London brewery or UK brewery, small microbrewery. But we've got the rye that maybe appeals to a different demographic. We've got the juice bombs that we can do. We've got the other pilsners. We've got the pale ales. So it's like trying to understand who your market is. But we have seen this sort of movement of taste over time.
I think one thing that maybe it's a kind of combination of noticed and more wanting from us is that we kind of anticipate and want to see more pilsners coming out, but just because it does just show the expertise of a brewery and what the skills that a brewery has. Because, like you said, you can't hide behind a pilsner. If you get a pilsner right, you get it right. If you get it wrong, you get it fucking wrong. You get it pretty damn wrong. But I know, Mark, you're on a kind of pilsner craze at the moment. Myself as well, I'm picking up kind of pilsners as well at the moment from Donzoko and stuff. So I'm very much looking at those stuff. It's weird to see things like always changing in the craft beer scene, but it's always going to be a part of that. And kind of alluding to Callum's question, do you guys want to be a forefront of that, or do you want to more follow the kind of beer trends?
I think we'd like to be the forefront. I think from a sour point of view, I think we were, I wouldn't say the first, but we were early doors. We were producing a different sour with these interesting adjuncts from day one. It's from a long time ago. So I'd love to be at the forefront and the head of the curve for most things.
I think sours wise, Scott, I think me and yourself will I thoroughly agree. Definitely.
I would try any. You could give me the wildest sour combo that you guys and I'm sure that whiteboard's full of them. The weirdest sour combo that you can come up with, whether it be
squid ink and
squid ink, and we've had that before. The guy, an incredibly experimental.
Write that one down. Hold on.
An incredibly experimental gentleman from Glasgow named Dave Ride Brewing. As he would fill a few slots. I think if there's any spaces for areas that haven't been used on your whiteboard, he would fill them, and he would brew the beer whether it was going to sell anybody or not. Dave's kind of like that, but he's squid ink and things, but I think
he's just done a cherry cola one as well, didn't he?
Yeah,
I guess the challenge for like somebody who owns a brewery is like it's still got to be commercially viable.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah,
not
so-
always for Dave, but
Right.
he's recently got help to make sure that is the case.
Right.
But he is very much on the artistic side of things and think about who buys it afterwards,
Right.
which can not always be the right move. But what I was meaning was that you guys could throw any combination at me and I would try it and I would trust that because you had brewed it that you were going to get whether or not the flavours that are there in the combination is to everybody's palate is a different story. But would I be willing to trust that, right, okay, so I'm quite experimental when it comes to kind of sours and fruit and stuff like that and what goes with what, and I'll try it for definite. So I would trust that Brick would put a combination together that would work. Whether or not it necessarily works on paper is a different story, but because you guys have put 2 and 2 together with all the other combinations that you've tried and it's worked every time, this one will work as well.
Yeah, I mean, we have confidence in it because we used to do little 100-litre batches on my old homebrew kit to see if things worked, but now we just go straight to the 3,000, like brew length, 3,500.
Have you ever? I was going to say, have you ever thought about if you've got some wacky ideas? Have you ever thought about doing like a sour hour or something like that, where you would put the reason I'm bringing it up because I know I jumped on one from Ride before where they'd done 6 cans, like 330 mils, and there were no labels on them, nothing, and they just had numbers 1 to 6, and you done like a total blind taste test, and the whole point was to engage people's thoughts, mind, and palate was I think Dave's thing, and it was a way for them to really experiment, but at the same time it was given, like you say, if you've got, you talk about giving your brewer a chance to like, go and prove yourself. Let's go and make 6 funky out there that is something a wee bit different, and if we do a wee bit of market research and one of them lands, and it might be like you say, strawberry and cucumber beforehand or whatever it was, we can then pump that and give it a try. But the sour hour was a really cool way.
Like it.
There we go.
But you're writing it down.
I'm writing it down. It's on the list.
The reason I say that is I say I'm not a big sour fan, but I said to Dave, prove me wrong. And he came away and he done the sour hour, and we had what was it, like wasabi and pea shoots, we had strawberry and something, we had licorice and something else, we had and it was weird.
It was good. It was really enjoyable. I mean, there was a couple in there that were a bit, but I mean, and it worked. I mean, I think 2 or 3 of the ones that were brewed experimentally for that process ended up we did brew commercially.
Tomato and chili was one of them. That's
right. Aye.
Which
that was a thumbs up for that one.
Well, but from most of the people, for me, I just told him, I was like, "You're just selling me a Heinz soup, a cold Heinz soup."
If I want gazpacho, I'll go.
Gazpacho,
but no, I think it's quite a cool idea, and I know, like during this time anyway, with the whole virtual tasting, where you're getting a chance to speak to consumers directly, it's a really great way of actually getting feedback and letting brewers kind of go and do what you pay them to do, I suppose, and go and make weird and wonderful stuff that hopefully will become commercially viable at some point. So.
We used to do something a little bit like that, and when we were using the 100-litre homebrew kit, we'd launch it only at the tap room, our tap room. And we'd have four sours or 4 beers, whatever they were. And, it's nice to have that instant feedback from the punter that's actually ordering it, and it's, we'd keep a tally of, that one did well, that one didn't do so well. And then that was a green light to go full scale.
I know, like Scott said, I would quite happily put my hand in my pocket to try weird and wonderful stuff that you make, because I, like you say, I appreciate the skill that you have got to make, if it is the sours and all the rest of it, and it gives you a chance to reach new customers in that sense as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just that, like you say, having that portfolio of beers that have been fantastic before. We've said that numerous times with other breweries in the podcast that if a brewery makes fantastic beer, you're going to go back to them. It doesn't necessarily matter what they make. You'll give it a go because you've had their stuff before and you know the expertise and the love they put in the beer and how the beer comes out. So it's definitely worth a go, and one that we are, especially with Brick, that we are fully on board with. I mean, Ian, for yourself, I mean, where do you see Brick in the kind of UK brewing scene as a whole?
What, right today?
Today, right? Let's take COVID out of the equation because that's a ball ache.
Yeah. So I my corporate job, I used to be head of segmentation. So I used to look at data for companies like Ocado and Sainsbury's and stuff like that, and try and stratify data and understand create profiles for a shopper.
Yep.
And I try and always do that for Brick. You know, I've always got that mind, but I also look at the UK market as a whole, and I think there's different tiers obviously within the UK brewing scene.
Yeah.
You've got the darlings like Verdant, Daya, Wylam, and those guys that sit on the top. You've got the Colonel that sort of sits on the top, but he's quite happy doing his thing day to day, uncompromising.
Yep.
And I think we sit probably just underneath there. We're uncompromising. We consistently churn out great beers, interesting beers, but we're not one of the darlings. We're not one of the old stalwarts like the Colonel. Great, you know. So we sit, I think, under there, and I think we're bubbling a little bit under there. And maybe we'll stay there for the rest of our days, which is fine.
Place to be.
Exactly, which is not a bad place to be. And then you look at the flip, like the other side of it, which is like the Camden Brewery, Beavertown, and they've gone mass market.
Yeah.
And so I'd like a little bit of that. But also, I'd love to be a darling, one of the top echelon, but we're not. I don't think we're going to be.
I think sour wise, I mean, I would, if I was going to recommend, if somebody said to me, "Can you?" I quite liked a sour beer. I would say to them to pick up anything by Brick. So if somebody says to me, I quite like the kind of that. I fancy a kind of a sour that you could sit and have on a summer day, and then quite fancy pushing the envelope for there. And we did it with the strawberry and cucumber. We said it umpteen times when we had tried it.
Yep.
If you fancy getting into sour beers, or you fancy getting into craft beer, and you like that kind of fruit flavour, if you for some reason, some inane reason, thought Copperberg was a good shout at some point, but fancy having a real drink, you could work your way in through that angle. And I would trust Brick for any. You could go with any kind of sour, just whatever it is, pick it up.
So it's got. I think there's
fancy
two.
Label. Pick it up for there.
Yeah.
You'll see it when you go into the bottle shop. Grab it and grab as many different ones as you can. You'll find something that you like for sure if that's your angle.
Yeah. So I think there's almost like two sides as well, isn't there? There's like the Vault City and the On the Beyond that are focused on a particular style.
Yes.
And then there's those that are not focused on a particular style. They're just mass market, Camden, Beavertown to a degree, really, other than their sour project. Sometimes I feel like we're caught across both those elements. So from your opinion, guys, do you think we should focus on one side or the other, or do you think it's actually a testament and a good compliment to have the broad
I think
ability?
I think I can probably speak for all of us. I think having that good complement of both is a really good. It gets you. It's a wider market for you to get hold of. Like me and Scott I love the sours that you guys come up with, but when the guys are talking about the kind of double dry hop thing and the Pilsner, again, that's something that I would 100% jump on. If I'm on your website and I see I've got a double dry hopped, I've got a sour, I've got a Pilsner, I'm buying every single one. Mark, you went absolutely mental on the web shop.
I know. I bought I got about 18 tins delivered for this podcast. So,
and was sad that he had to sell some.
I know.
We had to square them up for them.
I think having that confidence in a brewery is a good thing, and I think having a brewery like you guys that are churning out fantastic beers across all styles is great. because one beer might get you into a brewery, and as opposed to one beer getting you into a style of different beers.
Mm-hmm.
So you might try a beer and think to yourself, wow, that was brilliant. Well, what else does this brewery do? And that's the kind of thing that we've been talking about. That is, and we can't be. I mean, there's 4 of us here, and it can't that can't be the way that we think can't be unique.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a beer from any brewery, it doesn't matter if it's Brick or any brewery, if we have a beer that's phenomenal and we really enjoy it, it's going to make us more likely to try different beers that brewery produce, regardless of the style. So I think being in a position where we're a jack of all trades, but also a master of all trades as well. All you're producing beers across various different styles, but they're all fantastic products. And that having that standard is really, it's important for customers to
Definitely.
know that when we
other-
pick up a beer from Brick, it's going to be a brilliant beer, regardless of what style it is.
Aye. Do you not find? Sorry, Gil.
Sorry,
carry on.
Gavin, I was going. You're not necessarily tying yourselves into we're doing everything. You've explained to us already that you're picking your spots. So yes, you're producing a pale, with the IPA stuff and the experimental hop side of things. It's absolutely the right way to do it, but you're doing it at the same rate with the same level of skill that people that only do that do. So if you look at New Barns and Leith, New Barns and Leith are consistently producing normal kind of session level pale ales, lagers, and pilsners, and that's them, and they've got a lot of experience doing that. I think for their previous lives, that's what they brought together, and that's what they want to achieve. With it, every now and again they'll pick their spot. Whereas I mean, like I would never have, not necessarily just through. I think if I'd walked into a bottle shop and saw a Brick double dry hopped IPA alongside these other ones, I might not have necessarily. But having the sours first, I was like, right, okay, it's definitely worth it. And then I looked at on the website, see the not to go full Scotsman, but I've done this. I've looked at it 3 times because I was trying to work out what I was. Firstly, it was what I was due mark. Then you mentioned how many grams per litre went into making it, and then I found the price for this thing. And how is that on? How can you sell that at £4.30?
Is that from our website?
Aye, that's £6.
Yeah,
it was
Easy
six.
peasy.
It was 6. It was actually 750.
Aye, okay. There's the Scotsman in them. But I mean, that's incredible. I mean, to get that, that's wild. That
I
blows my
wonder though. I
mind
have
that
no
you
cash
can
in the
buy
bank.
that. I mean, you could. I mean, that's one you could. They're talking about kind of packs and stuff. You're like, give me. I need a dozen. I need a dozen of them, please.
6 to 12 pack.
6 to 12 pack easily. But I mean, I wouldn't have necessarily done that before. But a couple of rounds, one round of this is all it's taken, and now I'm on Baltic, as and when it's available. It's sold out at the moment, but Baltic Porter I'm in on. The Cellared Pills Marks.
There it is.
There you
Come
go.
on, Ian, you're just teasing. That's all.
Even the table beer I'm on. Even the Simcoe table beer I'm on.
But it's that thing.
All
it's
the
that
specials
thing,
all the
Scott.
time.
It's that thing though, because we've had.
You've had one you like. You going? I'm
Exactly.
going for everything. It's now a stalwart.
It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter what style that you guys are doing. It's like fuck it. We know that they do this really well, right? So they're going to do stouts, lagers.
One thing I was going to say, just to jump in, was you mentioned Vault City. Now, Vault City obviously specialise in that, like sour, and
that Imperial Yuzu style. That's
exactly
that's Vault City's angle.
It's the higher ABV. It's the weird and wonderful, and I think they are, like, without saying, obviously they're Edinburgh based, so I'm quite happy to say they're like the gold standard for us anyway when it comes to sours and all the rest of it. But being able to throw something in, I haven't tried the Yuzu yet, but to throw stuff in there that brings you into that conversation, and then like what all the rest of the guys have said, being able to say, well, since you're here and you really like this, we're able to give you the Imperial Yuzu? Why don't you try the double dry hopped IPA? Why don't you try this? I think that's an absolute winning formula. And at the end of the day, I know like people are going to come in with hype beers and hype stuff, and a new brewery is going to land on the scene with the funky, like you say, the squid ink and rose fire breathing, bellied up. I don't know, whatever it is going to be the next style. But at the end of the day, that'll hit for 3-4 weeks. It'll get hyped up like Verdant's Potty did, and then it'll fade out as quickly as Verdant's Potty did afterwards. And you know what will still be standing? It'll be Brick Brewery. It'll be the Days of the world. It'll be I'm saying Verdant because they do make good beer, but
Verdant aren't going anywhere, by the way.
No, but
they do make very good beer. Just Potty got hyped beyond its
capabilities.
It did, right?
Beyond its capabilities is maybe the best way to put that. But I think being able to be so diverse in the range that you're able to produce and hit the mark. Now, I haven't tried a dark beer from you guys yet, so I'll hold fort on that because I think even Dea missed the boat on their stout. So I'll remain impartial on your dark beers until I get a chance to sample.
What have you got there? Is it a Black Horse stout?
You got one?
What I got, like I basically just ordered everything that you had available on your web shop. I don't think there was a dark. I'm not sure if there was a dark beer available when I did.
But see that you're talking about you ordered one, everything available. This your guy's shop suits the current climate, which I think the current climate will be the climate for a long time to come. This direct to market stuff is going to go for a while. And it makes sense when you're ordering beer to a certain level to order, you need to order enough to warrant the delivery fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're splitting it between 3 people who stay next door to you, you're going to have fill a box. You can fill the box easily on the Brick website.
Yeah.
Like you can fill a box, no problem. As you said, Mark, it's the easiest. It must have been the easiest box for you to fill. And get the 18 cans. A lot of the time you're raking about saying, well, do I really need half a dozen of this style? Do I really need half a dozen of this beer?
Or five IPAs that are slightly different sort of thing.
Exactly. Whereas you're saying, well, I'll take immediately right off the bat, I'm going to have half a dozen Pilsners. And then for there, we can fill the box out for there with a few of the special ones, a few sours to capture that as well.
When I put the box together, I was speaking to Sally about it, and I said, what do you want to talk about? That was it. And she says, oh, we've got core and then we're doing the specials. And I says, perfect. So I just went on the core and basically went, what you got available? I'll take 2 of each. It's done. And that was nice and simple. And then there was a couple of the specials, again, the Eldorado and the Pils, etc. And I'm thinking, here we go. I've got that's 15 cans already. All right, well, let's see what else. All right, we've got a couple of sours. So, right, I'll take 2 each of the sours that are going, and right, okay, so that got me to, I think it was about 20-something cans, and then I looked through and I was like, I'm not going to build it. I'll get rid of one of these ones. I'll get rid of one of them. I'll get 18. I need that being a fair number before, but it was so easy. And like you say, sometimes you actually have to wrestle to fill a box.
Yeah, and with a certain brewery, and you're like, well, I'll go to the bottle shop then, and I'll pay a wee bit extra, and so I can fill a dozen. Whereas on the website, you can fill a box. You can get the box that you need and go direct. I mean, there's supermarkets are selling. There's supermarkets that we know of, not to go down the supermarket route, but very quickly, there's supermarkets are selling beer that couldn't lace the beers on this website's boots. On the Brick website's boots for less, for more money than Brick are charging for beer. How that can push you guys into that level that you want to be in is beyond me.
Mr. Scotsman's jumping in and telling you to shut up because Ian will rank his prices up tomorrow.
I know. We'll get stung here just shortly. But
when we go to put our
I don't know if you can see there.
This is price rise.
We're getting stung.
Fuck you, Scott. It's your fault.
We've always
podcast discount or something.
We've always, as a brewery, we've always wanted to be accessible.
Yeah.
And not to sort of price ourselves out of general public that actually want to, like, they're drinking Fosters now. Let them taste our Peckham Pills at £2 a can. Taste the difference in what you get, and then that's the gateway. That's the gateway beer. Then you sort of move them up the scale and stuff like that. So we've always wanted to be that brewery that's sort of being accessible to pretty much everyone.
Definitely, 100%. Ian, really for yourself, personally, your favourite beer that Brick has ever made for yourself. What is your favourite one?
I actually like the rye, Peckham rye.
There you go.
Yeah, I do. It's the recipe hasn't changed much since I was brewing it.
Yep.
Back in the day. I'm glad someone else is brewing it now, but I'm tired of digging out the mash tun. But yeah, the rye, it's the one I always sort of gravitate to, and also the Pilsner. The Pilsner was a beer I did for my wife, Sally. She didn't drink ales at the time, liked Pilsner Raquel.
Yep.
And so that's styled loosely on the Pilsner Raquel.
Super. For yourselves, again, as a brewery, is there another brewery out there that you guys would love to collab that you haven't maybe done before?
Because
we know nowadays that the world of craft beer is full of collaborations, and these are the ones that get slightly more hype because it's two breweries, obviously. As a one that you go, you know what, I would love to work with Kernel or whoever else.
Oh, who wouldn't want to work with the Colonel?
Well, exactly.
Does he do collabs?
I don't think he does, actually.
No, he doesn't, does he?
Rightfully so.
There you go. That's my answer then, Colonel. No.
There you go. Impossible.
But we have a collab coming up with Duration.
Very good.
Which is cool. We're very excited about that one.
They make stunning beers. I've had a couple of those stuff before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really, really impressed with those stuff. Fantastic beers as always. I mean, if someone's out there who's listening to the podcast who goes, you know what, I've never heard of Brick, wherever they live, where would be the best place for them to get hold of your beers?
A web shop.
Which would be what?
Go to www.brickbrewery.co.uk, and on the homepage there's a shop. Is it Scott? Yeah.
Yes, there's a shop where Mark has made numerous.
Mark now lives. He's got a favourite, and sign up to the newsletter as well.
Yeah,
you get told about you'll be first to know about the new stuff. Go for it.
And can I just add a massive compliment to the whoever it is that's designing the website. It's an absolute goldmine for somebody like me who's exploring brewing and trying to hone my palate to different malts and different hops and different yeasts and all that kind of stuff. Everything that you need to know about each beer is there. So it's got the malt bills there, the hop bills there, the yeasts there. Everything that you need to know about the beer is there. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. I don't think breweries do that enough. And I think that you know, brewing and craft brew scenes totally collaborative, and we get that from a lot of breweries that come on. The craft brewing scene's really collaborative, and everybody's friends with everybody else. But a lot of breweries seem to keep that information kind of close to the chest a little bit, and it's really nice to see that all that information's there for you, and to know exactly what's going on to your beers is phenomenal.
I mean, I struggled with that for quite a while because I thought I was giving away the keys to the kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but actually, if you want to go ahead and brew the rye, I'll give you the recipe and the quantities that we use for, you know, all the different adjuncts and all that sort of stuff. Go and do it on your kit. It probably won't taste the same as what we're doing it.
Yep.
And I'm not threatened really by.
No.
So it's like open source brewing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's that learning as well. You know, because why should you feel threatened by one person? You know, sort of saying it's a massive compliment, I think, for somebody to come and say, you know, I love this so much, I want to try and do it myself. I want to try and create the magic that you guys are creating.
Yeah. So we're about to launch actually a homebrew pack That's a sour pack. So effectively, the recipe we've come up with is actually a strawberry and cucumber. So we will give you a list of all we'll give you, if you buy from us, a list of the malts, and we will also give you a smack pack of our lactobacillus sour.
Sold.
Right. So you add that it's our house sour, and you put that in, you do the thing, and then we suggest that you use strawberry and cucumber as a recipe, but you could add berries, hedgerow berries, strawberries, whatever you want into that sour, and you make your own sour at home.
That's awesome.
Callum, there's your next brew, mate.
That's it. Yeah. It's that total alchemy thing. But, that floats my boat really.
After your 80 shilling.
Do me a favour, guys. If you're interested, send Sally an email, and we'll send you a complimentary pack of that.
Epic.
Awesome, appreciate that.
While we're on the sours, guys, what do you think about 330s over 440s?
Oh,
For sours, it's perfect.
yeah.
It's the win.
Aye.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Aye.
Agreed.
Sours in a 330 is exactly where that style of beer is supposed to be, because for not necessarily the sour lover, and
If you
I
could do
think
it
my other half couldn't do a 440 a sour beer, but she could neck 330s, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how that works. That doesn't make any sense. But
it's not.
she could, because it sits in the fridge. It's not that much more, but it sits in the fridge, and it's easy to store. It's easy to keep in beside other stuff if you're not necessarily somebody that does a beer all the time. And it's the perfect, although it's not much more, as you're saying, it's the perfect quantity to whereby you've not had too much of that good thing, or want to move on to something else. For somebody that, like Mark, if he was ever going to have a sour, would have it in between. Mark would have it in between moving. He would have it in between moving for the super juicy IPA to having a sour to then, or a third or whatever a sour, to moving on to something that was a bit heftier or something that had a totally different flavour to it.
Because I think 330s are a little bit of a USP, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Aye, it's either that, or the other side of things is we've spoken
bombers.
about Vault, which is champagne style bottles, or wine style bottles.
See, one thing I've thought about, and it's maybe just me being the weirdo and the when it comes to the sours, but see if you could can a sour in like an espresso size cup, like
like a 250,
like a wee, not even a
Moose Bouche.
Aye, I'm totally a Moose Bouche. Like, I'm talking like a 75 ml can. Like, I mean, like just like an espresso sized, like.
But it has to be 10%.
But
that's the coffee salesman coming at you.
That's what I'm saying. There's my Nespresso game coming through right there. But I've always that's just me being somebody that I pour a wee bit into a glass and I probably waste most hours, and it's not because I don't appreciate the skill that goes into making them. It's just my
your cup of tea.
It's my cup of coffee though, and if it was just I saw about. Come on, that was good. If it was just an espresso sized amount, like a wee, like one of these wee dumpy wee cans, you could just into your wee cup.
You're a bit due to get kicked off the podcast, just saying.
Oh, well, every can is exquisite brick sour that we open. I'll let you open it and pour a wee bit, and then I'll have the rest. But you buy them, right?
You buy them.
You buy them.
Well,
that sounds like a good plan. Ian, for the rest of the year, let's take the pandemic aside. For yourself, where do you see the kind of rest of the year? Where's Brick Brewery going to be by the end of this year? And what have you got coming up?
Good question. I don't know. It's a bit early. No, we see we're going to continue doing what we're doing. Yeah. We're going to continue launching the sours every 4 to 6 weeks. Same with the IPAs. We're going to build up stock of our core range. We're going to get out to draft places as soon as we can. We've been canning everything. Like we used to split it, 40-60, 70-30. Everything's been going to can right now. Up until now, we just made the decision this week to start kegging back to the 40%.
Yeah.
In anticipation of the market opening, really. We were looking for another site, our own direct site. So there's quite a few breweries have taken this opportunity to buy into a pub. I know Wildcard have bought a pub.
Yep.
Obviously, the Pembury Tavern from 5 Points, they bought their own place. They've got their own place. I'd love to do the same, just to create another community hub in Deptford, where our brewery is. I think that's great. I think the ground swelling of the community-driven sales is phenomenal, which leads to challenges when you want to break through to that UK market. Like a lot of people, a lot of consumers are looking to the local breweries, whatever it might be, butchers, delis, whatever. But yeah, we'd love to get more ingrained in the Deptford market, Deptford area.
Definitely. And I know if you guys did have a pub somewhere, I know it's somewhere we'd definitely visit. And it's with obviously the relaxing of the rules of the pandemic and stuff, people are going to flog to the bars, the local bars, and we cannot wait to get one to ourselves and hopefully pick up a pint of some Brick Brewing stuff. Fingers crossed. Like I said, make sure you head to brickbrewery.co.uk. Do what Mark has done. Fill your basket with everything you can get yourself get a hold of. Even if you don't like that style, Brick are making phenomenal beers, and they will not disappoint. I'm pretty sure the other three gents will agree with me there.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Definitely. Like I said,
I like to ask. Sorry, Gav. I know you're finishing
sorry.
up, but I don't know if you've asked already, but
No.
Any when we're doing the breweries across the UK, I like to always ask who's your favourite Scottish brewery, or what's your favourite like kind of go-to beer that's maybe or made in Scotland?
I'll be totally open and honest with you. I don't drink anyone else's beer but my own.
Yeah,
Yes, good lad.
Because
would you?
Because it's free.
Yeah. Well, technically, I was going to say technically it's not because you've paid for it.
Oh no, I know.
So
it's amazing how many staffies we get. Staffies being the underfilled cans that we can't sell. Like I'll have those. But
well, it's free and it's phenomenal. So why the fuck would you?
Scottish breweries. We did a collaboration with Fallon Brewery.
Yeah.
So we did the Three Peaks challenge with them actually. So we did it with them and Wild Horse Brewery in Wales, which are a great brewery as well. So we all did the Three Peaks together and collaborated on beers. So yeah, it's good beers. Stewart Brewery, like our, I know it's a bit more mainstream, but our head brewer came from Stewart Brewery. So I think there's interesting stuff.
Didn't know that.
And Vault City, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's quite a cool one. Like, just it's how collaborative the UK beer scene is, isn't it? Everybody knows everybody, and people do move around jobs, but within the brewery scene. But I think being able to collab like north and south of the border for that, if it is Wales, Ireland, Scotland, England, etc. I think it just means that it puts your brewery into a different mainstream a little bit as well. Obviously, people are going to be big Fallon fans that will never have had the chance to try a Brick Brewery beer before, and then when you do a collab like that, the locals then say, "Oh, that was pretty good. I wonder what else they do," and it just opens up, and vice versa for that matter. So, no, that's great, and as I say, there's no harm in getting sampled into free beer all the time.
No.
I used to be about 12 stone, but now
Down the club, mate.
I think we all did at one point, definitely. Like we said, head to brickbrewery.co.uk, head over there, go to the shop, pick up some of these phenomenal beers. You will not be disappointed. We've been following these guys for the last couple of years, and we've not been disappointed at all from the beers. Like I said, brickbrewery.co.uk. Make sure you follow all the social media pages as well. Just search Brick Brewing as well. And you can find ourselves also. Search the Beer Fridge Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Just like, follow, and share. The Beer Fridge podcast, as always, is brought to you and sponsored by thisweekincraft.beer. Head to thisweekincraft.beer, sign up to the weekly newsletter, get the new beers list and all the news from your favourite breweries, including Brick. And we are powered by Patreon. Head to patreon.com/Beer Fridge podcast. Subscribe to the podcast and show your support. Gain access to exclusive content. Head to patreon.com/Beer Fridge podcast. Ian, thank you for your time. You're more than welcome anytime to join us on the podcast. Been an absolute pleasure having you on this evening, and I'm sure the guys have, and myself included, have enjoyed your beer.
Very much so.
Thank you, guys.
Incredible.
Amazing. Thank you.
Until next time on the Beer Fridge podcast. Cheerio, bye.
Cheerio.